In that sense, did it come easy to tell your own story, to tell what occupies
No.
your mind? And
No,
okay.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't come easy to me, actually. I find it quite taxing,
Okay.
to be brutally
Sure,
honest. Yes, in some ways there is that element of it's a bit of therapy, and it does help me kind of process stuff. But at the same time, I'm not. I can be honest with other people. It sounds really weird. It's like an inner battle that I have with myself, where I don't want to be too honest with myself because I don't want to know, you know. So when I'm writing, it's like I have to dig really deep, and I actually only want to really write about my own experiences. So it's a real personal, deep experience for me. So it's actually quite emotionally taxing.
Sure.
So I don't necessarily always want to go to the piano or pick up the guitar and go, oh, I'm going to write a song now because it makes me feel so good. You know, that's not. I kind of look at it and I go, oh God, I'm not quite sure I can do that today. You know.
So in that sense, do you have to be in a certain mood? Maybe in a little bit sadder mood, or?
Yes, yes and no.
Okay.
So sometimes when I'm really sad, I absolutely don't want to go anywhere near it. I'm like, no way, because it would just depress me even more, you know. So it's that sense of not wanting to face it. So, you know, in some ways, being able to detach myself from a certain situation enables me to kind of look at myself more objectively and go, okay, that's how you feel about that.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because do you then maybe later on, after a bit of separation from the song, and if you hear it again, do you then notice certain things you were feeling, maybe, or things?
Definitely, there is definitely a sense of, you know, a lot later on of looking back on it and going, oh, okay, that's what I meant by that, and oh, I see, oh, okay, no, I understand. Oh, I understand that now. Whereas at the time, it may not have really made sense. Oh, what do I really mean by that line? Or I'm not quite sure I understand what I'm saying there, and I don't think that anyone else is going to understand it either. But actually having kind of time away from it, it then starts to kind of unravel and make more sense. So yeah.
And well, you mentioned the words real and honest, which is very important to you. And I can't remember where I got this from, but you said something about the rejection of the mainstream, and integrity is everything.
Yeah, integrity is everything.
So
yeah, that's how I feel.
How do you feel about current music?
Yeah. What do you mean in the wider sense? In the music industry? Or?
I think this was more of a reflection on mainstream music, and yeah. I think you said something along the lines of your desire not per se having the desire to go that route, but to have that integrity.
Yeah, I think what I meant by that was, I think there is a sense nowadays, whereas there wasn't in the 60s or 70s, you know, especially in the 70s, you know, not that I was alive then, but you know, it's the golden age of music and all that. You know, I think nowadays people can get into that trap of, oh, I've got to write a song and I'm going to write this song and I'm going to try and get it on radio, or I'm going to try and sell it to another artist, or I'm going to try and do this, and you know, it's a bit kind of more calculated. So they might write a song with the audience in mind, which is hard. You know, it's hard to get rid of that completely. But yeah, there's the commercial sense, in the commercial sense, where I have to make my art fit around what their format is, what they want what do they want from me? Okay, right, I better do that. Whereas for me, it's screw you. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage in that. I'm going to write kind of what I feel and how I think, and what makes me happy and what makes me fulfilled, and how I want to express myself. And then if you want to play it, if you want to listen, you know, then it's totally up to you. It's leaving it up to that other thing, and not allowing myself to be directed by outside influences.
In that sense, does it alleviate a lot of pressure in a way, in terms of maybe success or
I think so. I think it does. I think you're right, because I think you become a lot more accepting of what you're putting out there. Yeah, it's like, well, this is me.
Right.
It's me, so you either like it or you don't. And whatever way is fine. So you become a lot more kind of pragmatic about it. Well, I can be sensitive about it as well, because obviously you want people to like it.
Sure.
That's natural. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to get too crazy upset if someone doesn't really like it, or it doesn't really connect with them, or they don't really understand it, because that's fine and that's their prerogative. So I'm really quite okay with however people want to react to it.
Sure.
So yes, I think it does take the pressure off. Okay. There are other pressures as well, I think, that come with being in this industry.
What kind? Can you give me an example?
Well, I think, especially making a second album, okay, because you go from making the first one, which has really, it's a really good reception and people really love it, but when you make it, you really don't think about the audience, you don't think about anyone else, you're literally just expressing yourself in whatever way you
Sure.
want to do that. So, you're just free. You're free to do, there are no expectations. There are no, there's nothing's gone before it. So you're just free to do whatever you want. And in some ways maybe I'm contradicting myself, but with the second album, that's why they call it the difficult second album. With the second album, there is something that's gone before that. So there is that kind of thing of, oh right, okay, I'm going to put this thing out, but so maybe people
Sure.
won't like it because they liked what I did the first time, and they won't like this, and so which is why it's even more important to go, hey, I'm just going to do whatever makes me happy, and if people like it, then great, because otherwise you can just tie yourself up in knots. Sure. Worrying about what other people are going to think about it. So, so yeah, there's that, and obviously, the wider industry, the wider, the pressures nowadays of being really accessible, and in my kind of small way, I think I'm really incredibly grateful to all the supporters and fans and all that. But yeah, the kind of bigger it gets, the more kind of like, the more centered you have to become.
Sure.
Because otherwise, you can kind of understand why people go crazy.
So what do you do then to keep that level head, to keep?
I've got really good people around me. Okay. I've got a really amazing family, and I've got a really amazing manager who basically tells me what for. I really do think it's people. Okay. It's having the support network around you, and it's having, and I'm obviously on much a smaller scale, but someone like Amy Winehouse or, people are making money out of those artists, so they don't necessarily want to do anything, so kind of rock the apple cart, and it can be a very destructive environment, and actually not necessarily something that is good for that person. It's all down to the people that are around you that keep you centered and grounded.